Something is wrong with my roommate, and I can't escape. Imagine moving into a new apartment, excited for a fresh start, only to realize something isn't right. Your roommate never sleeps. Your belongings move on their own. You wake up to him standing in your doorway, watching. But the worst part, when you try to leave, you realize he won't let you. And the more you dig, the more you realize maybe he was never supposed to exist at all. When Alex moved into the new apartment, he wasn't expecting perfection. He had taken the cheapest option he could find in the city, a 2-bedroom unit, in an older building with questionable maintenance, but it was close to his job, and after months of struggling to find a place, he wasn't about to complain. His new roommate, Jeremy, had been living there for a year already. He was polite, soft-spoken, and seemed easygoing, but there was something about him that was hard to place. He had a stillness to him, like he moved just enough to function, but never quite enough to feel natural. He rarely blinked, and when he did, it seemed deliberate, as though he had to remind himself to do it. Alex ignored it. Everyone had their quirks. The apartment itself was a little rough around the edges. The floors creaked. The air always had a faint mustiness, and the walls were scuffed and unevenly painted, but it was livable. His room was small but functional, and he was just grateful to have his own space. The first few nights were fine, except for one thing. Jeremy never seemed to sleep, or at least not at the same time as Alex. Every time Alex got up in the middle of the night to grab water or use the bathroom, Jeremy was awake. Sometimes he'd be sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, though the screen was always dark. Other times, he'd be at the small kitchen table, flipping through a book he never seemed to finish. One night, Alex finally brought it up. "Do you ever sleep?" he asked. Half joking, Jeremy gave a small smile. "Not much. My schedule is different." Alex shrugged it off. Night owls weren't that weird, but things started getting stranger. One morning, he found his bedroom door open, when he was sure he had closed it. The next day, his phone charger was missing, only to show up in the bathroom cabinet. Little things, but enough to unsettle him. Then, there were the sounds, soft shuffling outside his room late at night, the sound of papers being turned but never a light on in the living room. Once, he could have sworn he heard whispering, just barely audible, like a radio playing in another room. But Jeremy never had visitors, and Alex's walls weren't thin enough to hear the neighbors. The unease built over the weeks. Alex tried to brush it off, but he couldn't ignore it forever. The breaking point came when he woke up in the middle of the night to a strange feeling, like he wasn't alone. His eyes adjusted to the dark, and in the faint glow from the streetlight outside, he saw a figure standing just outside his bedroom door. "Jeremy." Alex sat up, heart pounding. "Dude, what the hell?" Jeremy didn't move. He just stood there, staring. Alex reached for his phone, the glow of the screen breaking the darkness. "What are you doing?" Jeremy blinked slowly as if coming out of a trance. "Just checking something." "Checking what?" Jeremy's expression was unreadable. "Making sure you're real." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. "Go to bed, man." Jeremy didn't argue. He just nodded and walked away, disappearing into his room. Alex barely slept the rest of the night. By the next day, he was sure of one thing. He needed to find a new place. But getting out wouldn't be that easy. Alex woke up with a pounding headache, his mind still foggy from a restless night. The eerie knocks from the night before still echoed in his memory. He checked his phone. No new messages. No missed calls. He was exhausted, but the fear kept him alert, determined to leave. Alex spent the morning searching for new apartments, but every listing that had seemed available the day before was now marked as unavailable. He called 3 different places, only to be told the unit had just been rented. "Seriously?" he muttered, frustration building. It felt like something, or someone, was keeping him from leaving. As he got dressed for work, Jeremy stood in the hallway watching. "You look tired," Jeremy said flatly. Alex forced a nod, trying to act casual. "Didn't sleep great." Jeremy studied him for a moment before saying, "Maybe you should stay home today." Something about the way he said it sent a chill through Alex. It wasn't concern, it was something else. A suggestion, a command. Alex grabbed his bag and walked past him without another word. At work, Alex tried to shake the feeling that he was being watched. His boss, Karen, asked if he was okay after catching him zoning out more than once. He debated telling her everything, but knew it would sound ridiculous. That night, when he returned home, the apartment felt wrong. The lights were dim, the air thick. Jeremy wasn't in the living room or kitchen. His door was slightly ajar, but Alex didn't dare peek inside. Then he noticed something new. The walls. There were faint scratches on them. Long lines etched into the paint, as if someone had dragged their nails along the surface. He ran his fingers over them. They were fresh. A deep unease settled in his stomach. Had Jeremy done this? Or worse, had something else? Determined to get answers, Alex knocked on Jeremy's door. Yeah? Jeremy's voice was calm, but Alex hesitated before opening the door. Inside, the room was unsettlingly neat. No clutter. No personal items. Just a bed, a desk, and a single notebook resting on top. Jeremy was sitting on the edge of his bed, staring at Alex expectantly. Did you hear anything last night? Alex asked. Jeremy tilted his head. Like what? The knocking. And these. Alex gestured toward the walls. What's with the scratches? Jeremy didn't look at the walls. He just smiled. Maybe the apartment's trying to tell you something. Alex's mouth went dry. That's not funny. Jeremy stood up, stepping closer. You ever wonder why the last tenant left so suddenly? Alex stiffened. What? Jeremy's smile widened. Maybe you should ask the landlord. The next day, Alex did just that. He visited Mr. Hayes, the elderly landlord who lived in the building's basement unit. The old man opened the door just enough to see Alex's face, his eyes narrowing in recognition. I was wondering about the last tenant in my unit, Alex said. The one before Jeremy. Mr. Hayes frowned. Did Jeremy tell you something? Alex hesitated. Not really. Just, the apartment's been feeling weird. Noises. Things moving. Mr. Hayes exhaled sharply. You should leave. Alex's blood ran cold. Why? Because the last guy left in the middle of the night. Didn't even take his things. Just ran. I found the place unlocked the next morning. Alex swallowed hard. Did he say why? Mr. Hayes shook his head. Just told me. It's not him. He's not real. And then he was gone. That night, Alex was too wired to sleep. He locked his bedroom door, put a chair against the handle, and kept his phone close. But around 2 a.m., something woke him. A low creaking noise. The sound of slow, deliberate footsteps. His breath caught as he realized. The sound was coming from inside his room. He turned on his flashlight. Heart hammering. There was no one there, but his closet door was open. Alex grabbed his phone and texted Mark. I need you to come over. Now. Seconds later, a reply. Already outside. Confused, Alex rushed to the window. Sure enough, Mark's car was parked on the street below. But when Alex looked at his phone again, his stomach dropped. The message had disappeared. Then a new one appeared. Stay inside. Don't trust him. A knock on his door made him jump. Alex! Jeremy's voice. Calm, too calm. You should let me in. Alex backed away, his fingers tightening around his phone. Then, the door handle started to turn, slowly, and Alex knew this wasn't just Jeremy anymore. His mind raced as he pressed his back against the wall, trying to steady his breathing. The door handle continued to twist, slow and deliberate, as if whoever, or whatever, was on the other side knew he was afraid. Alex swallowed hard, gripping his phone tightly, his thumb hovering over the call button. Alex? Jeremy's voice came again. Calm, eerily patient. Why won't you open the door? His pulse pounded in his ears. Every instinct screamed at him to stay silent, to wait. But then his phone vibrated in his hand. Mark, he quickly answered, keeping his voice to a whisper. Mark, I don't know what's going on, but Get out. Now! Mark's voice was urgent. I'm outside. Come down. Alex's stomach twisted. His window overlooked the street. He should have been able to see Mark's car from here, but when he peeked through the blinds, the street was empty. The door handle jerked violently, slamming against the lock. Alex! Jeremy called, more forceful this time. Open the door, now! His breath hitched. He needed to move. He couldn't stay here. He shoved his phone into his pocket, grabbed his duffel bag from under his bed, and scanned the room for another way out. The closet, number the window. He unlatched it quietly, pushing it open just enough to squeeze through. He climbed onto the fire escape, gripping the railing as his foot slipped on the cold metal. He didn't dare look back into the room. Then, a noise, not from inside his room. From below, someone was already on the fire escape. Alex froze, heart hammering. A figure stood one level down, their face obscured by the dim streetlights. But even in the darkness, Alex knew it was Jeremy, except Jeremy was still at his bedroom door, trying to break in. His stomach turned. He didn't have time to think. He scrambled down the ladder, gripping the freezing metal with shaking hands, nearly losing his footing as he reached the alley below. He sprinted toward the street, gasping for air. His mind reeling. He had to get out. He had to find Mark. He had to understand what the hell was going on. Alex sat frozen in the passenger seat, Mark's words echoing in his head. Jeremy is dead. It didn't make sense. He had been living with Jeremy for weeks, talking to him, arguing with him, but as the words sank in, his mind raced back over every odd interaction, the stillness, the watching, the whispering in the middle of the night, the way Jeremy always seemed to just appear when Alex was about to leave. Mark's hands were tight on the wheel as he drove through the empty streets. I don't know who you were living with, but it wasn't Jeremy. Alex's throat was dry. Then who was it? Mark exhaled sharply. I don't know, but we need to figure it out. Alex looked over his shoulder at the darkened streets. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Mark hesitated before adding, I have a friend who might be able to help. Mark drove them to an old bookstore on the outskirts of the city. It was the only building still lit at this hour, its neon open sign flickering against the night. The place smelled of old paper and dust, and behind the counter stood a woman in her 40s. Her short, dark hair streaked with gray. This is Evelyn, Mark said. She's a researcher. Studies patterns, old cases, things like this. Evelyn eyed Alex with curiosity before nodding to Mark. You said his roommate wasn't real? Alex hesitated. I don't know. But something isn't right. He was off. And now I find out Jeremy was dead before I even moved in. Evelyn motioned for them to sit at a round wooden table near the back of the shop. Tell me everything. Alex relayed every detail. Jeremy's odd behavior, the strange noises, the disappearing messages, the feeling of being watched. When he finished, Evelyn tapped a file on the table and slid it toward him. You need to see this. Alex flipped it open and his blood ran cold. It was a missing persons report, not just for Jeremy, but for 3 previous tenants of the apartment. All disappeared. No traces left behind, just vanished. They all lived in your unit before you, Evelyn said. And now you're here. The pattern is repeating. A shiver ran through Alex. He looked toward the window, half expecting to see someone standing out. Mark leaned forward. So, what's happening? Evelyn hesitated. The answer may be simpler than you think. She reached for another file and opened it. Inside were old photos of the apartment building, construction plans, tenant records, even some police reports. She pointed to a name listed under owner. From 40 years ago, Jeremy Clark. Alex's breath caught. Jeremy, Evelyn nodded. The original Jeremy, the one who bought that apartment building decades ago. He vanished too, but ever since then, people living in that unit, they disappear, or they leave, but they don't feel free. Alex's stomach twisted. So, what do we do? Evelyn glanced at Mark before answering. We go back, and we find out what's keeping people tied to that place. They drove back to the apartment just before dawn. The building looked the same, but Alex felt it differently now. He wasn't just returning to his home. He was stepping into a place that had swallowed others whole. Alex's hands trembled as he unlocked the door. The apartment was eerily silent. Nothing was out of place, but Jeremy was waiting. He sat on the couch, hands folded neatly in his lap, his expression unreadable. You came back. Alex took a step inside, heart hammering. Who are you? Jeremy's head tilted. You know who I am. Mark stepped in behind, setting down the folder. Number. The real Jeremy is dead. We know about the other tenants. The missing people. What happened to them? A flicker of something. Annoyance crossed Jeremy's face. Then he smiled. That's an interesting theory. Evelyn stepped forward. The apartment. It's been trapping people, hasn't it? Holding them here. Why? For the first time, Jeremy's face changed. His smile faded. He felt trapped. The air in the room seemed heavier, pressing against Alex's skin. Jeremy's posture tensed. You don't belong here, Jeremy finally said. None of you do. Alex's breath hitched. Then let me leave. Jeremy's eyes darkened. I don't think I can do that. The tension in the room was suffocating. Jeremy stood, slow and deliberate. Everyone thinks they can just walk away, he murmured. They don't understand. It's never been about me. Alex's heart pounded. Then what is it about? Jeremy didn't answer. Instead, he stepped toward Alex. Mark reacted first, grabbing Alex's arm and yanking him backward. We're leaving. Now, Evelyn pulled something from her bag, a small recording device. She pressed play. A distorted voice crackled through the speaker. You don't belong here. Alex's blood ran cold. It was the same voice that had whispered outside his door at night. The same voice he had convinced himself was in his head. Jeremy's face remained unreadable, but for the first time, his body language shifted. A small hesitation, a fraction of uncertainty, and then Alex understood. It wasn't Jeremy keeping him here. It was the apartment. "Let's go," Mark shouted. Alex turned and bolted for the door. Jeremy didn't try to stop him, but the door wouldn't open. Evelyn grabbed a chair and smashed it against the window. The glass didn't break. "It won't let us leave," Alex yelled. Jeremy's voice came from behind them, calm as ever. "I told you." Something in Alex snapped. He grabbed the recording device from Evelyn and hit play again, over and over. The distorted voice filled the room. "You don't belong here. You don't belong here." The apartment shuddered. The walls groaned, and then suddenly, the door unlocked. Mark didn't wait. He grabbed Alex and shoved him through the doorway. Evelyn followed, and the moment Alex's feet hit the hall, he felt the air change. The pressure was gone. They ran, down the stairs, out onto the street. Alex didn't stop until he was halfway down the block. Bent over, gasping for breath. When he turned back, the apartment window was dark. Jeremy was gone. Alex spent the next few nights at Mark's place, but sleep never came easy. The weight of the apartment, the missing tenants, the thing that had kept him there, it stayed with him. One evening his phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have left." Alex's blood ran cold. Somewhere out there, it was still watching. The end. That concludes this story. What are you scared of? Let me know and leave it in the comments. Make sure to watch the next unbelievable, captivating story.